You got that vision board. You got those goals. Now you got to get there. And I'm telling you, you don't want to be that category 2 agent. You want to be that category 3 agent. You want to be so good and strong that you actually have to pull it back. And that is where we all want to be. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the call. What I see with agents is we all have to start somewhere. That's kind of like the first level. You know, you're new, you're just getting started. You work your way up into that second level, which we'll talk a little bit about, which is really where, oh man, I want to say almost everybody on this call is in that second level. And then we've got that third level, that next level where everything is different. One of the things that I'm going to say in a sense is I'm kind of going to call myself out on this. And I'm going to say by doing that, I'm also going to have to call a lot of you guys out. I think a lot of us, we kind of feel like we're in that third level, or we behave as if we should be treated as if we're in that third category, and we're literally just in the middle, barely, in some cases, barely. And I've seen it by stuff that, that agents have done. And, I listen to your calls, so I know what's going on. I had an agent about 4 or 5 months ago literally justify something, a really good agent, one that's just ready to make that next step to that third category, actually justify a mistake that he was making and basically say, oh no, I'm doing that on purpose. I'm doing that for a reason. And so I think at some point we all have to look at ourselves. We have to take a look inside and actually say, hey, am I really where I want to be? Am I really doing what it takes to get to where this business is a lot easier, and I'm really making the kind of scratch that I want to make? Hopefully some of what we're going to talk about, what I'm going to share with you today, will help you to get there. I really do. What this is about is the 3 stages of final expense remote sales success, really 3 stages of success. Period. With our business, one of the first things I really feel like when you're brand new, you're in that level 1, that first stage, you're getting ready to start, or you just started, you really have to find your why. That, and I know a lot of you guys have been with us for a while, have heard me say this a few times, right? You got to have goals. You got to have them in writing. And I would even say to go so far as to have a 1-year goal and then a 5-year goal. And now, what are you willing to do to get there? Because having a 1-year goal, here we had an agent, he's no longer with us, so I don't mind talking about this, so he's not going to hear it and feel embarrassed. I remember speaking with this guy, Brandon spoke with this guy. He's like, man, I want to profit at least $10,000 to $15,000 every single week. And I was like, wow, that's a lot. That's a big goal. How about we start with half? How about we work on targeting $5,000 profit, just total profit a week? And I broke it down and showed him what he needed to do. Basically, he didn't do any of the work. And, 3 weeks later, he quit, pretty much. So that keeps coming. That brings us back to the question, what are you willing to do to achieve your goals? So one of the things that I would even suggest doing is creating a vision board. Pretty much you should all know what that is. If not, just Google it. A vision board, you're basically using visions, pictures, really, to visualize your success, to help you to target where you're going to go. And I brought up years ago, my wife had, a picture of this beautiful, amazing modern house. And then we ended up getting our new house. It wasn't quite the one in the picture, but I'm surprised she hasn't put that one up there, because I think she still wants to upgrade, which she's doing what it takes, really. She gets up in the morning, she drinks her coffee, and she goes to work 7 days a week. It's important to visualize your success. Another thing, which I think is, and this is where I'm going to use myself as the example. You kind of have to teach yourself work ethic. When I was in my 30s, my work ethic was pretty terrible. I really wasn't very committed at being successful. I wasn't goal oriented. And it's funny because I did certain things that actually, if it weren't for those certain things, and I'm going to tell you about them here in a second, if it weren't for those things, I wouldn't have gotten anywhere. So basically, I ended up getting a job, and for years, through my 30s, I believe I was with this one company almost 8 years selling remodeling, home improvements, stamped concrete driveways, screen enclosures, kitchens, stuff like that. When I worked that job, I had a schedule Monday through Friday. Every morning I had to be in the office at a specific time. I would do my work. If I had to put in a permit for something, for example, for a driveway or a screen enclosure, I would do the drawings, put everything together, get all the paperwork signed. I do all that stuff in the morning and get my leads. I would go right to the gym. Back then, that's the one thing I did actually right. And this is the thing. I would go every 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, go to the office, do my work, get my leads, go right to the gym, and then go eat breakfast. Usually I would go to one of 3 different places to eat somewhere, and then end up going to run appointments. I usually had at least 1 or 2 appointments in the morning, leads to run. And then I would basically go home, relax, take a nap, do stuff around the house, and then go to my evening or afternoon appointments. I had that structure because of that job. With us, independent agents working from home, we've got to create that structure ourselves. That's where I come back to, we've got to teach ourselves work ethic. Create a daily schedule and follow it. Live by that schedule. Some of us, we have to force ourselves to work. I'll go back to the guy who wanted to make, $10,000 a week. It didn't even work. The guy didn't do any of the footwork. And so, and I'm using that as an example, not to bash him, but because I think a lot of us at some point in our lives may have even been there. I mean, I know I have multiple times. I can't tell you how many times I said I'm going to do something to myself and then never did it. And I'm not talking about back in my, believe it or not, right before I started going to the gym, I smoked. So one of the things I had to do is quit smoking. It took me years to quit smoking. It was really difficult, as a lot of you guys know. So I'm using that as an example. It's probably not the best example, but the bottom line is you kind of got to force yourself to do something that you don't want to do. In a lot of cases, it is work. It's make the dials. I mean, our system doesn't work if you make 30 dials a day. I've seen agents do that, and we know where that goes. They're usually gone a few weeks later, right? Either that or they figure out a way to step it up. With all that being said, leading into the stages, most of the agents that have been, once you're with us for at least a month, basically by hanging in there, you're in that middle stage. So you got the first stage, the new agent, right? You're learning the products. You got to get comfortable making presentations. And very important, using the technique, the looping technique. That is, to me, that's a game changer for us. And we use that technique because it works. And so I know some agents don't really use it. And I feel like a big part of it is those are a lot of the agents that are in that second category. They're making the money, it's working. So they're in that second category. They're making enough money, but they could actually be in that third category by changing a few things. And so that's the second category, which is, again, you're in your second month. You're getting comfortable. You're comfortable making presentations. Maybe in most cases, you're used to the objections. You expect them, they're going to come. So you've figured out your way of dealing with it, or you're doing the looping technique. You've gotten comfortable using different carriers. The process is kind of simple, and now it's kind of like repetitive. It's just another day. And that's kind of where I feel like, that's why I say a lot of us are there, and nobody wants to go to that third level. To me, that third level is really when I stopped accepting excuses. Okay. So maybe for you, it'd be the same thing. You're still listening. You're accepting the client's excuses. You're listening to their lies and half believing it. Part of it you're moving on too soon, maybe. That's key, because you got to know when to move on, right? Not too early. You don't want to move away and leave the client, leave the prospect too soon. But you also, by the time you're in this third stage, you know when to move on. You've figured that out. I know this sounds familiar. A lot of you guys are like, yeah, I'm in that second stage. I haven't, still trying to figure out how to move on. Or you're doing it too early, and maybe you don't even realize it. And what happens is the talent sort of kicks in, and you always have an answer. Now, I'm not saying you're closing every sale, but you always have an answer that kind of makes sense. And with some of these folks, you're in that third category, something's going on, and it feels like you're almost, I'm going to use this word, you're almost hypnotizing them. And so that's, I can relate to this. I've been through the stages. I've gotten to that third stage back when I was selling mortgage protection as a Hartford agent. And then I had to restart everything when I got into final expense. And I remember at one point when I was doing these face-to-face presentations that I was using NLP. I was using every technique possible to get them to sign. I was being very commanding. I was very dry. I was to go get your checkbook. No, forget about the excuse. Just go get your checkbook. Go get it. Trust me. We need to do this. Go get it. I wouldn't even give them an option. And so then, of course, I was so strong, and like I said, it was an almost hypnotic effect to the clients that there would be a lot of these people I'd pull out of their driveway, and I swear they got buyer's remorse the second I left. They're calling me 20 minutes later, canceling. That's kind of where you want to be, but then I had to fix that. So I corrected that. I stopped being so commanding, and I actually got better at picking the people that actually were going to pay and buy, the actual true buyers. And instead of just basically trying to hypnotize, I literally was trying to hypnotize them. I used every technique possible to get them to sign, including hypnosis. Not that I know hypnosis, but I don't have a better word. That's basically what was going on. And that's where you want to be, to the point to where now you have to pull it back a little bit. Whoa, they're getting buyer's remorse. They're canceling too quick. So you want to get to that point. Look, there was a time when, let's go back. And a lot of you guys heard me talk about this. I won't get into it too much. There was a time back when I was a Hartford agent when the boss would tell me, and the manager, the owner, the guy that owned the agency, the old guy and the manager would both sit there and tell me, dude, you're just letting everybody off the hook. Just because they tell you, they got it at work, or they don't need it, or whatever the excuse is, they filled out the form for a reason. And you're letting these easy, and that they would always say this, you're letting these easy lay down sales off the hook. And I was always like, look, yeah, okay, you're the manager. I get it. In my mind, I would think this. You're the manager, you're the owner. Of course you want me to sell more. Of course. And then I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I actually started, I think they just said it so much that I started to believe it. And when that happened, and I believed them, yeah, you know what? I think I am letting them off the hook. Then I stopped letting them off the hook. And, a lot of you guys heard this story where, I've made up my mind. I'm not going to, the next client that I walk into, I'm not letting them off the hook. I go into the house, the husband and wife, they got the baby. And the lady says to me, like within 2 minutes of me getting there, she says, listen, just so you know, he never buys anything when he first meets anybody. And so, and then at the end, an hour later, it was actually a little longer. I was there for a while. I fought for that sale. Maybe closer to an hour and a half later, she's over here going, wow, I can't believe he bought that. I can't believe he did that. He never does that. And we're all laughing about it. You got to get there to get to that third level, that third stage. And I want to say part of it, and this is basically, and I'm going to give you guys an assignment. The agents that have been with us the longest, the guys that are, especially the agents, the guys and gals that are on that top 5, you're the ones I'm speaking with, because believe it or not, most of you guys are in that second category, And I think some of you guys think you're in the third category, but you're not. Okay. Here's the person that's in the third category. Not only are they listening to their presentations, but they're actually making changes to what they're doing on a regular basis. Let me go back a little bit. First time I did that, the boss was telling me bring a recorder. Back in the day, you brought the recorder and the little recorder with the little tape, right? And the first time I didn't want to pull it out in front of the customers. I'm like, what am I going to do? And so I finally did it with this lady, single lady with a baby. I walked out with no sale. Okay. She had no insurance. I walked out with nothing. She had a brand new mortgage, the easiest sale you could make. Thankfully I recorded. I think I recorded it. I had the guts to record it because I wasn't worried, because it wasn't like a husband and wife. I felt like maybe, I don't know what it was, but I was afraid to record. And then I did with her. I got in the car and I listened to that thing and I was like, whoa, I sound horrible. I sounded so bad. I couldn't believe that people were actually buying from me. And there were things that I said. I listened to it a couple times. The boss wanted to hear it. He asked me, he says, let me hear it. And I was like, listen, you don't need to hear it. I sound horrible and I'm fixing it. And I did literally overnight. I remember, I think the next day I had another situation similar, and it was just an easy sale. It felt easier. Something changed in me. I guess that's the point. I listened to myself. I accepted that what I was doing was not right. It was the opposite. Guys, I was already in that middle category. I was there. I was selling. I was at the point where it was kind of working. I was making money. Back then, I hate to say it, but my commission level was 60%. I paid $30 a lead and was happy because I was going to make $60,000. Okay. So things were a little different then, but the most important thing, the thing I'm getting to the most is I asked myself, what can I do to fix this? And that's what I want you guys to do. So this is your assignment. Everybody, I'm giving this to everybody, especially those of you who are always on that top 5 that have been with us the longest. Okay. Just to be clear, pick a presentation. See if you can find one where either some of you guys are going to relate to this, newer agents, either you just couldn't close it and you had to move on, 1, or 2, the client backed out. Now, when we're newer, we hear that happen. If the client's backing out, they're ready to sign. Then all of a sudden they're going, the next thing you know, they've even given you a social. The next thing you know, you're asking for something and they stop, usually the social or the checking, right? Then they stop and they go, well, I still need to think about this, as if we haven't already addressed this. They've already committed and now they're backpedaling. There's something going on there, most likely with the agent when that happens. I'm telling you, I'm not like 70%, but like 99 out of 100 times when that happens, it's because of something that the agent isn't doing correctly. The agents remember the hypnosis. Everybody, here's your assignment. This weekend, listen to one of your recordings and ask yourself, even if you think it's perfect, there's got to be something in here that I need to change immediately that can actually help me, and make that change. And if you guys are new, if you're new, and let me just say, if you're within your first let's say 3 months, within 3 months, even if you've only been doing this, let's say less than 6 months, you're going to find multiple things. If you don't find multiple things, reach out to me, ask me to listen to one of the recordings. I promise you, I will find a lot of things, because we can all work on ourselves. Yeah, it's easy. It's easy for someone else. Sure, it's easy for me to pick you apart, right? That's kind of terrible. The important thing is for you to see it, for you to realize, yeah, that's not the way I want to sound. Those of you who are new, brand spanking new, I know a few agents just got connected with Brandon. I am going to send you some sample recordings of really good, smooth presentations of a couple of agents. One of them is Brandon, actually, so that you can hear what he's doing and hear the calm and try to mimic what what they're doing. Those of you who've been with us for a while, you've already got those recordings. If not, email me. For some reason, if I haven't sent it to you, email me and I'll get them to you. But the key is, guys, the key is you got that vision board, you got those goals. Now you got to get there. And I'm telling you, you want to get there in style. You don't want to be that category 2 agent. You want to be that category 3 agent. You want to be so good and strong that you actually have to pull it back. And that is where we all want to be. That is exactly where you want to be, whether you realize it or not. And you need to look at yourself. If you think you're in that third category, if you think you're already, hey, I'm as good as a salesperson gets, ask me. I'll call you on it. Feel free to shoot me a text. Hey, Doug, am I in that category 3? But I think if you're doing that, it's because you know you're not. All right, guys. I hope I wasn't too negative. I hope you guys all got something out of this. Listen, stop believing the nonsense. Figure out when to cut the call, to move on, and realize when you're moving on too fast. That's important too. I hope the rest of you guys, hope everybody here has a killer rest of your week. If you need anything, please reach out. We'll see you on the call on Monday. Adios. Happy hunting.